Highbridge, a division of Recorded Books, presents Between the Records by Julian Tepper, forward by Britt Daniel, read by Julian Tepper. To my father, this book is lovingly dedicated. Author's Note. Though a work of fiction, the music created by the characters in this novel is based on the work of the music group The Natural History and their record, The People That I Meet. While you live with this book, you are encouraged to listen to that record, available on vinyl through the publisher and on all music streaming formats. Chapter 1. Hollywood Boulevard, 1987. Dad and his new wife Elena were living in a one-bedroom apartment in Hollywood. Mattress on the floor, filthy bathroom, clothes everywhere, dishes stacked in the sink. The front door opened onto an outdoor corridor overlooking a tiny fenced-in swimming pool. The other tenants were a mixed bag of Sid and Nancy's and Ike and Tina's. Adam and I had been warned not to go out onto Hollywood Boulevard, too many junkies, muggers, and prostitutes. Dad said he and Elena didn't plan on staying long, that they would get a proper apartment. You just couldn't beat that $125 weekly rate, and it was all they could afford now. In a few months, he would start seeing royalty checks from his first record, which had just gone gold, but it took time for that money to funnel through all those pipes into his account. He said that the next time we came out to see him, we should expect to go to sleep to the sound of something other than alley cats and heat. Dad spent the daytime hours behind the bedroom door writing his second record. He didn't come out, not to eat or stretch his legs or say hello. He had a coffee maker and perhaps a sandwich and a bottle of pills or a bag of blow in there with him. My brother and I would put our ears to the door and listen to him play, but to make sense of the unformed songs through the thick wood separating us was impossible. He was stopping and starting and picking up at odd places, rewriting words one moment and testing new melodies the next. I imagined his chest leaned over the curved upper half of his Gibson acoustic, his long black hair held back in a rubber band, a writing pad pinned between his right thigh and the guitar, his left hand up on the guitar neck, a pick between his teeth and a pen behind his ear, and a tape recorder on the desk just in front of him. Every few minutes he moved from the chair to the windowsill, then to the bed and to the edge of the desk, before returning to the chair and scribbling down another line or two and crossing out others. He smoked a cigarette and listened back to the tape, recorded a new version of the same track, and then moved on. At the end of a day, he emerged looking worn out, unwell. This evening, after yet another full day of writing, his fourth since our arrival 5 days ago, Dad went straight from the bedroom, out the front door, had a swim, came back, showered, put on a bathrobe, and then dropped down onto the couch and began staring at the television. He put his arm around my older brother. "How's it going, Adam?" "You're bored," Dad said. "Yeah." "You too, Jules?" "What? You're bored too?" "Yes." "Well, that's great," he said, "so you're both bored." Our attention shifted back to the television. Bugs Bunny. Dad, skinny and strung out, red-eyed, began accusing us of a failure of imagination. There was a pool outside, he shouted. The sun was shining. If he were our age, he would have spent the whole day in that pool, under the sun, and he would have been happy about it too. Did we know what our problem was? We were spoiled. We got everything we wanted from our mother, and we didn't know how to appreciate anything. Fortunately, Elena came out of the bathroom and started to defend us. "The kids just want to see you, Walter. They have a right to be upset. They came all this way. Give me a break. They are seeing me. Here I am." Dad held his hands out to the sides. "They were in the pool all day. It's 6 o'clock, Elena said. They want to do something else, something with their dad. I know, you want to go spend my last $100 on dinner, a dinner you won't even appreciate because you don't appreciate anything. Calm down, you're freaking out and you're making things worse." "Oh yeah, am I? Just get out of here, Walter. Come back when you've pulled yourself together." Dad only had to be told once. He put on his leather jacket and slammed the door behind him without a word. Elena didn't run after him. She took a seat on one end of the couch next to Adam, shaking her head. Her husband, our father, was crazy, she said. He had no self-control. He wasn't good at saying what he needed. It was idiotic, childish. Now he was out there on Hollywood Boulevard, furious, in pain. Elena was 24, from Stockholm. She had been in the country for just over 2 years and married to our father for 7 months. They had met on the dance floor of an LA nightclub. That had been about a year ago, while Dad was out here recording his first album at the Capitol Records building. On his return to New York, Mom had found Polaroids in Dad's suitcase, and one marriage ended, making room for the next. Elena's two front teeth, a gap between them, were set slightly forward because she still sucked her thumb. Her long blonde hair was up in a ponytail, and she had bangs. She wore a black t-shirt, sleeves torn off and bottom cut to expose her navel. She had on a pair of white underwear, but no pants, and her legs were crossed. Like our own mother, Elena didn't wear much around the home. Sometimes you had to look away, but now she was staring straight at us. He loves you guys. You know that, right? He feels bad that he can't spend more time with you. He doesn't want to fail you, so he gets upset when he sees you're not happy. And of course he feels a lot of pressure about the second record. He wants it to be great. I hate him, Adam said. No, you don't, I told him. I didn't want to think it was possible. No, I really do. I hate him. Stop saying that, I said. Just then, Dad returned. He didn't speak but stalked into the bedroom and swung the door shut. The tension in the dead quiet room was enough to make me sick. I heard Dad's guitar knock against wood, perhaps the desk or a chair leg. He strummed for about 20 seconds before cursing. Fuck! Unbelievable! I grimaced. Adam lowered his head. But Elena wasn't going to put up with this. She went into the bedroom, and then they were arguing. She said he had 2 minutes to pull it together, or else she was sending us home to New York, and she was going to a girlfriend's apartment for the rest of the week. But Dad was unreachable. He was shouting, as if he were trying to hit the back row of an arena with his voice, that we should go back to New York, and Elena should go to a girlfriend's apartment, and that would be fine by him. To emphasize his point, he kicked the bedroom door, and we saw it shake from our seats on the couch. I could feel myself ready to cry, and I turned to my brother, saw the rage building behind his dark eyes. He said, "Come on, let's go." I followed Adam down to the pool. We sat side by side on the diving board with our feet in the water and discussed going home early. Was it an option? Could we go? Tonight? What did it cost to change a plane ticket? Was Mom even in New York? Or was she away with her boyfriend? Maybe we could go to New Jersey and stay with Dad's parents. We couldn't remain here. That was impossible. We have to protect each other, I said. We will, my brother answered. Promise me. I promise. All of a sudden, Billy appeared. Uncle Billy, we called him. Billy Andrews. He and our father were old friends, songwriting partners. Dad had played bass in Billy's band, and together they had written Up in the Sky, which became a hit for Billy, who performed it, as well as Dad, its co-author. The song had peaked in the top 10 and earned a Grammy nomination. We weren't sure what Billy was doing here. We hadn't been told he was coming, but he picked me up, chortling, "Booby, baby, oh baby, booby," as he embraced me, then threw me over his shoulder before tossing me in the pool. Adam outweighed me by 20 pounds, but Billy swung him under his arm too, squeezed his head to his chest, and then lobbed him into the water. Billy, surely high on cocaine, couldn't believe how big we'd gotten. The last time he'd seen us, he said, was back on 94th Street. "And Adam, baby, you were naked, I remember, and you had my new LP in your hands, and you were covering up your privates with the album sleeve, which was real cute, yeah. And Julie, baby, you were sucking on your mama's tit. God bless the Lord, God bless him." Billy kneeled down and said that he thought of us as his own baby boys, and we could always count on him for anything we ever needed, and that we should spend more time together, because life went too fast, and he couldn't stand to think that the whole thing could pass us by without the three of us having more time together. Billy had long brown hair, light eyes, a 5 o'clock shadow, and he wore blue jeans and a brown suede vest with a white t-shirt underneath. He was thin but built, and he waved his arms around to emphasize his excitement, no longer about the fact that we were seeing one another for the first time in 5 years, but because the world and God and love and Los Angeles and my father and Elena and the sky and the air and the universe was a gift that we had to celebrate right now. You know what I'm saying, babies? You hear your Uncle Billy? God, your dad and I are going to write some hits this week. That I know. Billy's been at his piano all day writing songs like he never heard before. I'm talking James Brown and Stevie Wonder and John Lennon stuck their golden hands deep down into my belly and sent a message to me that went right through my hands and up into my head, and I started to sing, and wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, we are back. You know I love you, don't you? You know Billy loves you. Oh, God, you two are beautiful. You are my beautiful boys. Adam and I stared up at Billy from the pool, our hair in our faces, ears clogged with water. Billy threw each of us a towel and told us to dry off and take him up to the apartment because he had big news to tell our father. Any fears about what was happening between Dad and Elena were vanquished. Billy was too powerful a force. His presence shone too brightly. His enthusiasm was larger than any conflict. And we followed behind him, jogging up the stairs. Billy threw open the door. The apartment was quiet. "Anybody home?" Billy shouted. He looked back at us, grinning. "Where's my hitmaker? Where's my second wife? Come on, kids, get out here and give me some love. I'm about to make you wish you could live forever." Dad stepped out of the bedroom, his eyes small and corrupted by mania. Elena walked just behind him, her face red from tears and blonde hair disheveled. But Billy was too disposed to joy, and yes, high on drugs, to let anything spoil his good feeling. "Baby, baby, baby, baby. Oh, my babies look so sad, and I don't care if you think you're face to face with the end of the world, but you guys have got too much love in your hearts and too much beauty in your souls to let the pain take over and get the better of your minutes here on God's earth." "Billy, please," my father said. He was at the fridge, drinking from a liter of orange juice. "Not now." "Not now, Walty? Not now?" Billy held his hands out towards my father. "Baby, you got a beautiful wife, and you got your holy, holy children, and the day is growing old, my friend, and we got to get on with the lovin', 'cause there ain't no encore in this game. Now, what in the world could be tearing you boys and girls up like this, that you can't find the glory of this day in your heart? Give it to me. Tell Billy. Tell him. Let him know. I want to hear what hurts. I gotta know what hurts you so bad inside that the tears are running down from your sweet, sweet wife's eyes." Dad said, "Billy, this is not the time, okay? Okay, you say? Okay? No, booby, no, 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 no. I need love. I need you to give me the Walty Newman love I come for. Okay? You got to take the time now to clear the black from your heart and find the love. Now, would it help if I told you I've been on the phone all day with Polydor?" The label had released Billy's last 2 records. "And they want another album, and that I need Walty N, my hitmaker, to testify with a cut or 2 or 3. Baby, we gotta get down and make love tonight. I want to have a song on their desk by Monday. I'm working on my record, Billy. I don't have time." Billy brought his hands through his hair, blew air out his mouth, then stared, first at Elena, then at me and Adam, a long stare that asked each of us to question whether this was my father or some imposter. Then, as if he were working out the chorus of a song, he said, "Oh, baby, 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 baby." Billy dreamed big. He believed God had given him one of the greatest rock and roll voices ever, and that he would be as successful, as famous as Bruce Springsteen or Bob Seger, and that was that. He was always after my father to help him take over the world. They had written one big hit in 1980. Now it was 1987. If you had asked Billy 7 years earlier how many chart toppers they'd have penned by now, Billy would have asked how many Hall & Oates had to their credit, and then he would have told you to double the number. But alas, Billy and Dad were stuck at 1. And Billy, speaking to my father in this depressing Hollywood apartment, and feeling all the anger and despair and darkness pulsating between these walls, was stupefied by my father's resistance, but far from giving up. "So you're saying my most talented master-songwriter can't spend a couple of extra hours this week at the piano with his brother in arms, his best man Billy, and get down a little harder? The people are dying for more. They are dying, Walty, dying to turn on their radios and make love to Walty and Billy, and God tells me that we got no choice but to give them what they want. Are you gonna say no? Julie, baby, Adam, baby, you think your daddy should say no to me right now, when what I'm offering is to dance right back to the top of the airwaves and earn a mint and give love to the world?" The air conditioning was on, and my wet bathing suit was cold against my legs. This was no time to open my mouth. Adam, likewise, kept his shut. Elena, however, said, "Billy, Walter is having a hard time. Oh, well, God gave me eyes, and I can see that my brother is hurtin'. I will ease your pain, Walty. Billy had seen action in Vietnam. Though he never mentioned the details of his tour, he did like to bring up, as he did now, the fact that he'd nearly lost his life, and that he would not waste a minute feeling pity for himself. Oh, yes, you know where I've been, Walty, and you know I can't talk about it, not here in front of the kids and your beautiful wife. But we cannot waste our time in this world. Any minute could be our last. We've got to do what we've been put here to do, and for you and me, that's write great songs. Come to me, Walty. Don't say no. I need you, and you need me. Now let's bring it on home. Dad didn't say yes, but Billy had shaken him from his black dog mood, gotten him to smile. Dad said, "You're out of your fucking mind, you know that?" "I do know that, Walty, but that's why Billy's one of the special ones, damn it. I love you so much, Walty. I love your boys, I love your wife. I'm crazy and in love with all of you so much it makes me want to cry and sing and write hit songs. Right now, though, I think it's time we go eat some cheeseburgers. Your kids look hungry." We went to a diner on Sunset and took a booth in the back with windows facing a dumpster. Billy told the waitress we were definitely going to need a plate of French fries right away, and a couple of chocolate milkshakes, and that these boys, that is Adam and I, were from New York City. In L.A. for a little fun. He was laughing and pointing and shooting knowing looks at the waitress as if they had a history, but the waitress was unimpressed or didn't care, and she asked if we still needed menus. Billy, slapping his hands to the table and gazing deeply into Adam's eyes, then mine, shook his head and said 5 cheeseburgers, medium rare would do, but to hold the lettuce and keep any coleslaw that might come on the side as far from the table as she could. "Thanks, darling, you have a gorgeous soul." The waitress was over 60. Her eyeshadow was the orange of a smoggy L.A. sky at sunset. Her hair was white and heavily curled, and her lips looked like they'd pulled on over 100,000 cigarettes. She flipped her pad closed and gave Billy a wink. Billy returned the gesture and said, "Billy loves you." Then he turned to Dad and began to tell him how much he missed him, and that he'd been writing more songs than ever. Tunes were spilling out of him, fully formed, with words and melodies and piano lines, but that he was hearing Dad's voice in the room with him, those harmonies that Dad would have to add to the tracks, in particular to the chorus of a song called Memory Repeats. Billy began to sing the part right there at the table. Memory repeats, da-day, day-da, da-da. And Walty, you go. Now Billy sang in falsetto, with all 10 of his fingers opening like the petals of a tulip above his head. Memory repeats. Like that up there, repeats. I got a tape of it in the car. We'll take a drive up in the hills after we eat and have a couple of listens, talk it out, then pop over to my place and spend the night at the piano treating our souls to the mercy, Walty, that they're crying out for. Dad nodded. By now his coloring, his brow, his posture were commensurate with the sort of relief that came with letting go, the gratitude of being free of it. Though Billy was responsible for Dad's improved mental state, this didn't mean that Dad was pleased to be in Billy's company or that he was even comfortable around him in general. Dad was at his best with Billy when the 2 old friends were seated together at a piano with a pen and pad resting on the music stand with a song in the works. I could remember them in the living room on 94th Street, going from noon until the early morning hours. At the piano, at work with Billy, Dad was confident, focused, open, inspired. But anywhere else, with the God wants me to go to number 1, Billy, with the Billy loves you more than you could ever know, Billy, with the day is too beautiful to let sadness into your heart, Billy. Anywhere with any of these other Billys, and Dad grew irritable. "Oh, that burger is juicy. Hey, Julie, baby, Adam, now you know that your daddy's the most handsome man in rock and roll, don't you? I'm saying I have met every leading man in the business, and there is no better-looking living example than your daddy." Billy was hunkered over the table, his grin mischievous yet serious. "Now, Elena, you cover up your ears if you have to, but the boys have got to know this about their daddy, okay? Boys, I'm telling you, more women have fallen in love with your daddy than any man to grace a stage, including Elvis Presley, and that's the truth. Just look at him. Look at that face, those eyes, those lips. Walty Newman is a lady killer, and the day he married you, beautiful," he said to Elena. 1,000,000 sweet young girls cried themselves to sleep. Yes, they cried, and I heard them, and I held them, and I told them that it was all gonna be okay, because Billy was gonna write a song for them, for all the girls who couldn't have Walty Newman of Bayonne, New Jersey. Billy, the boys don't have to hear this. Sure they do. They do. They love to hear it. Don't you, boys? Don't you? You know how good a daddy you got, don't you? Yeah, we said. Billy reached over the table and took my father's head in his hands. Walty, you got it all, my brother. You have got it all. He let go of Dad and then said to him, I'm so proud of you. You inspire me, baby. Dad went off with Billy after dinner, who knows where. But the next day, when I told Dad how nice it had been to see Billy and what a terrific guy he was, and funny too, Dad said that Billy was great, sure, that everyone loved Billy and that Dad did too, that they were like brothers, but that Billy could be a real pain in the ass. He swung in from nowhere. You never saw Billy coming, because if he called and told you he was on his way, then he'd be forfeiting the impact of blindsiding you, which would decrease his chances of getting what he wanted. That's right, he was never there just to say hi and give you an hour about what he had been up to since the last time and to find out about your life. There was always an agenda, my father was telling me, as I worked the fold-out bed in the living room back into a couch. You saw Billy, and you had to deal with a whole vision that included you and every second of your life. And I've got nothing to give him right now. Nothing, my father said sharply. We were alone together in the apartment, Adam and Elena down at the pool. I folded the blanket, straightened the pillows, avoiding Dad's eyes. It would have been the wrong time to tell him how last night Billy had saved us from Dad, and that I was grateful to him. That if Billy hadn't showed up when he had, Dad and Elena would have fought all night. Who knew if we would have ever gotten around to dinner, and we would have had to go to sleep to their screaming. He's telling me, just come over for a week and we'll write a whole record. But he doesn't see what I'm going through. He doesn't care that I'm making a solo record of my own right now. It means nothing to him. It's all about Billy, Jules. Yeah. And I gave him 10 years. I did the Billy thing for 10 years. Now I'm doing me, and I can't let him in. I just can't do it. Okay, Dad, there's a lack of respect, he said. He takes no interest in my work unless it benefits him. And what kind of friend is that? I mean, I don't even know if he ever listened to the first record. He might have put it on, but I mean, did he really listen? I doubt it. He had no comments whatsoever about any of it, and it's just unbelievable, because I've supported him so long. I have dug in so hard to his music, written so much of it with him, and know it all so well. But there's no reciprocation, Jules. It's just all about him. And you know, music's not like that. Sure, you're competing with your peers, but you're also in it together, and you want to know what everyone's making and, if possible, let it inspire you. But not with Billy, at least not when it comes to me and my solo career. Maybe he's threatened I'm going to outdo him. As far as I'm concerned, that's no excuse. He says he loves me. Well, he's got to love me when I'm doing better than him, too. He's got to champion me, just like I do him. We went to Ralph's to buy a loaf of bread and a dozen eggs. I was following Dad through the grocery store, and I could tell he was lost in the aisles, distracted, almost happily, talking about the pain and fear and confusion of a person who goes out and seeks the acceptance of all people, who cannot bear to be disliked by anyone, cannot tolerate it, and will try to take down in the eyes of others any person who does not or cannot be made to love him. But Billy was the performer, Dad was saying, always turning it on. If he was on stage, he was throwing roses to the girls in the front rows, confessing his love for them and their city, from down on his knees, and begging after the second encore to never let the night end, because it was going to hurt him too much to say good night. And if he was having a meeting with the heads of Polydor, he was swiveling in his chair, rolling his shoulders, and snapping his fingers in time with a song he was making up right there on the spot, and then telling those executives about how lucky they were to have a voice like his on their label, and how the good Lord had blessed Billy by bringing them together so that his voice could get to the people. And if he was in your mother's living room, he was telling her that she was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen in all his life, and that he'd like to move right into her house if she'd let him, because there seemed to him no better place to live in the whole wide world. Even the guy washing his car would have been asked what he was doing shining windshields when he was handsome enough to be a Hollywood star. The routine was practiced, but it was genuine. It came from a real place inside him. Becoming that person was so natural for Billy. Dad said so now. not without adding, however, that a part of it was shtick, a game that Dad was not willing to participate in. "But I worry about Billy, Jules. I do," he said breathlessly. "You look at him and you think he's having the best time, that life's so good for him, but he's in a lot of pain, a lot of pain." "Is he, Dad?" "Yes. Anyone who expends that kind of effort trying to make everyone love him is destroyed inside." 17 years later. Chapter 2. Woodstock, New York, January 2004. We were two brothers in pursuit of dinner. What subject might fill the minutes of our half-mile walk? Did the darkness and cold make it hard to get hold of conversation, or was it the wounded expression on Adam's face, the tensely shaped eyes, the stooped posture? My expectation upon entering town, with its bakeries, music shop, grocery store, ice cream parlor, and restaurants, was that Adam and I would soften to one another, that the sight of commerce and human activity would lighten the mood. We entered the supermarket, passing through bright, uncrowded aisles that could put you anywhere in the country. Men in white coats stood behind the deli counter, these classic figures weighing sliced meat on scales. We decided on hamburgers. Adam did the ordering. The butcher, substantial mustache, eyes hidden under a soft white cap, wrapped the ground beef in brown paper, taped it, slapped a price tag on it, and handed the package to Adam. The total was $8.52. At the checkout, I paid with a credit card, my only means of payment, with close to nothing in the bank, and we exited the store. I gotta tell you, Adam, after 2 weeks up here, I'm starting to think that having to squeeze the writing in between 1,000 other demands is better. Not for everyone, but for you, absolutely yes. You come into your apartment from one thing, and you've got 38 minutes before you have to get on to the next, and so you grab your guitar, open your notebook, hit record on the tape recorder, and go. With the commercial strip now behind us and the road firmly rural, Adam said, "Jules, I've been thinking about writing songs another way." "Which way is that?" He said, "One where they develop slowly." "Develop slowly?" "Yes." "You think they'll be better?" "Maybe." We turned onto the driveway. The house was another 200 feet off, and the light from the kitchen window guided us through the darkness. Adam, broad shoulders rounded against the cool air, size 13 boots negotiating the icy road, began describing the kind of song that a person heard and disliked the first time, but came around to. "What about it makes this possible? Is the song constructed in a way that hides its value, like a person whose best character traits remain hidden for a while? A person who forces a newcomer to work a little if he's going to get to the good parts. If you have to wait for it, you're going to appreciate it more, right?" "Sure, usually. Well, and what if writing this kind of song also takes time?" "What kind of song are you talking about?" "I'm talking about one you develop piece by piece, giving every moment the chance to live for a while before being shaped and brought down into form. You don't say things like, 'I need a bridge here, now goes the chorus, how about an intro?' You're never even thinking about the song as if it's missing something. Everything develops naturally." "Okay, Adam, well, and maybe if you do this, if you write this way, what you have at the end is a far more generous and interesting song for both the writer and the audience." "Well, maybe so," I said, pushing open the front door, tossing my gloves on the red sofa, tearing off my hat. "But we've rented this house for 2 months, and we have 6 more weeks here. We should get the record written before going back to New York." Adam closed the front door behind him and slipped into the kitchen. I could hear him putting the kettle with the steam engine whistle up to boil, as well as the weight of his body moving from one foot to the other, causing the old wood floors to creak. Adam returned at the next moment then, and said that he would like it if I would stop mentioning the record and how it had to get made. He wasn't talking about the record. He was simply thinking aloud about songwriting. "There's a stigma attached to taking your time," said Adam. "There is," I said, following my brother back into the kitchen, "because in most cases, if you're taking a very long time to write a song, you can usually feel in your gut that something's going wrong there. You know what I mean. I know you know what I mean." Adam pulled a bag of tea from the box on the shelf above the window framing the night forest and dropped it in a mug. My brother was born with a face...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?